So that means we still have locations yet to be encountered with these storms. And for the tornadic parts of these storms, that means Miltondale and Missouri City and Atherton and Blue Mills need to be in their tornado safe place. That also means Blue Springs, Grain Valley, Oak Grove, Buckner to be in your tornado safe places. We have 2 separate thunderstorms going on right now with areas that are trying to spin. I can't really pinpoint one that's greater than the other. I certainly see some areas along the front that are trying to spin. If we had something that was really bona fide, looked like a tornado, I would definitely point it out. It's hard for me to describe it to you without seeing it. If I were to see something here in the next few scans that really look like it, I would absolutely let you know. Right now, this is kind of just attempts at rotation along these leading edges, I think. Let's scan out to make sure I haven't missed anything just yet. They have issued a larger severe thunderstorm warning to take into account places farther downstream. So Lexington, Odessa, parts of Johnson County, Missouri, Harrisonville. Well, Harrisonville was in the warning earlier, but now we've got parts of Lafayette County and Johnson County in a new severe thunderstorm warning until 9:45. That's been drawn like that to give a heads up to all those folks out there. So let's get into, okay, I mean, certainly you see this cyclical action here with this leading edge of the storm. Looks like it wants to spin there coming into Blue Springs. The velocity doesn't necessarily sell me on it. That's good news, but let's take our precautions here. I see some areas that want to maybe spin along the leading edge. Maybe the best candidate could be near Cobbler and Blue Mills right now. In terms of raw velocity, I just want to look at the greens here. This is just the straight line winds coming through because in addition to the tornado threat, these are, of course, still storms capable of pushing 70-mile-per-hour winds. So those fastest winds are coming through Liberty right now. Through Independence at the moment. They're about to be in Blue Mills, about to be in Blue Springs. And then there's your rotating characteristic. I'm just going to go back and forth to see what we've got. Let's get a time stamp on these. These are moving at 40 miles per hour. Let's do the Jackson County storm first. 40, roughly due east. Okay, so times of arrival for the southern part of this line that might be spinning. It's right now over Ripley. And then here in just a few minutes, Blue Springs, and then Lake City at 8:59, Grain Valley at 9:03, Buckner at 9:04, and then Oak Grove at 9:08. This also conveniently doubles as when those really fast straight line winds are going to arrive because the tornadic portions of these storms, they're on the very leading edge. And of course, the very leading edge is where the strongest winds are going to be. So these are also arrival times for at least the strongest winds and maybe the tornadic part of the storm. I will say, Odessa, Wellington, I've got you in this box. You're not in a tornado warning yet, but your town's a bit included just for the sake of keeping track of it. Let's go up to the north now. So you get this off the screen, clear that. Let's clear that too. And let's wander up to the north. Still seeing something trying to spin there near Blue Mills. But there are 2 red boxes on your screen. I know it's a little hard to pick out because they're overlapping, but there's a red box up here for that first tornado warning that came out for the Northland. So let's do a storm track on that. Also at 40 miles per hour. So all those locations I mentioned not too long ago on the Northland and still like you to be in that tornado safe place. Let's move this out at 40. So this is also over Ripley right now. And then into Atherton at 8:56, Stockdale at 8:58, Clevenger at 9:04, Sibley at 9:05. There's Sibley for reference. Sibley, you're not, I don't think you're in that tornado warning. You might be if there's an extension, but the warning officially ends just to your west. And then Levacy, 9:09, and Floyd at 9:12. These are all areas that could definitely experience that, you know, the strong straight line winds upwards of 70 miles per hour. Whether we get a new tornado warning for Oric and Camden and Richmond remains to be seen. I would say Gladstone, you're probably good. I think not only has the tornadic part, but the really strong winds I think are beyond Gladstone, so I can give the all clear to Gladstone, although I'm sure it's still heavily storming where you are, but the most dangerous stuff is past. Okay, so we have a storm tracker en route to Liberty, and so if they're headed up that way from where we are, they're going to catch the backside of the storms, but obviously we're not going to send them out in the face of this. Let's look and see. Oh, I still see some appendages here on the front that want to spin. They might be trying to do this for a little while. I don't, okay. And again, fortunately, none of these completely sell me on the fact that, okay, I'm not saying that there's a tornado involved right now with some of these, but I certainly see some attempts at spinning. Let's see, what was I doing? I was giving some all clear to places. So downtown Kansas City, Waldo, Westport, the storm has passed, the tornado warning has passed. If you were seeking shelter earlier, you can come out. I can give the all clear to Avondale. Aside from that, though, any of these other places I mentioned in the tornado warning, got to stay put because you're not in the clear just yet. So here's your wider image of the metro. This is the band of thunderstorms causing all the trouble. Originally, this was coming into town for a severe thunderstorm warning for 70 to 80 mile per hour winds. We still have a severe thunderstorm warning out to Odessa and Harrisonville for what could be 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. But now we have some spots along the line that are trying to produce some quick spin-ups. They would be quick if indeed they happened. They would probably be weak, if I'll be honest, but it may be that, you know, either way, no matter what kind of tornado we're dealing with, we have a new one. We have a flashing box here on the screen. Okay, so they're saying there's a brand new tornado warning out for parts of, let me get this right. That's flashing because it's confirmed. Let me check if this is spotters or otherwise, but a confirmed tornado warning for Clay County. That's also a confirmed tornado warning for parts of Jackson County, the northern part of Jackson County. And then now we get to introduce places like Oric and Sibley. Ray County, that tornado warning goes for you. They were making a mention of debris with this. So let me try to toggle that once again. They said National Weather Service felt like they saw a debris signature near Liberty. Let's play the past 15 minutes. Just a little bit. That might have just been one there on the east side. Really a borderline case. Usually I'd like to see a signature a little more clear cut than that, but that could have been a quick spin up near Liberty. Let's jump to the velocity data. I mean, yeah, you can see, I mean, from this vantage point, I didn't see the winds that are completely as locked in as they could have, but they sure were side by side. That was one of the places I was indicating might be really trying to put something down. It could be that it did briefly. So now that tornado, again, brief, these are all likely going to be brief. So if something was on the ground there, it's probably lifted. But there could be an additional one trying to form in that particular part of the thunderstorm headed into some of these communities. Let's read the latest from the National Weather Service. So yeah, so they're saying this was confirmed by radar. We don't have a spotter report, but the National Weather Service, if they feel that the radar had enough clues to where you could really confidently say there was a tornado, then they'll put out a confirmed tornado warning. And that's what we've got. Let me make sure I haven't missed anything. Okay. No, outside of that, we've just got reports of some damage coming in, which let me go ahead and read a little bit off of that. So down tree limbs 4 miles southwest of Kearney. Down tree limbs 4 miles east of Farrellview. So we're just kind of getting some filtering in of some reports of that. I'd say if we have, again, there are portions of this line that may be still attempting to spin. The one near Liberty I'm less concerned about because now the winds are less bright, a little duller colors there. This one may be trying to wrap up a little bit new one here near Lake City. And then we still have that tornado warning for Jackson County. We can't forget that one. So it's right over top of Blue Springs. I'm seeing less in the way of little appendages trying to spin there, which is good news, but these can change in a hurry. So we can't write that one off completely. This is still at 40 miles per hour. Let's get a new storm track for that new tornado warning because, again, now this includes Ray County or parts of Ray County, and it didn't previously. So 40 mile per hour track. Keep in mind this is going to include some counties not in a tornado warning yet, but let's call out some places that are, like Miltondale at 906. We've got Sibley there at 905, Oric at 912, and then some places in between like 905 for Prathersville, and then Clevenger at 905. So my guess is if we had a brief tornado touchdown there near Liberty, it's already gone, but could be trying to reignite itself once again. Probably the best location to see that would be where you see the hook appendages here on the leading edge, something here near Atherton. And let's check some data there. Yeah, so fortunately, what I'm seeing less of are those greens and reds trying to tie together, and now I'm seeing the red colors win the battle again, or the green colors, sorry. And that's indicative of perhaps the straight line winds finally forcing their way through and kind of defeating the ability for these storms to gain rotating updrafts on the leading edge, because there's a lot of green, and there's some bright green, but I don't see the bright reds on either side. There's a little bit of some red outbound winds there, but that's pretty dull looking. Still a little bit there near Lake City. I think that's an attempt at some rotation there, but Lake City, you're already under a tornado warning. And then perhaps a second little attempt here near Blue Springs. This is weak rotation that I'm pointing out, but as we've seen, it may have been that weak rotation was responsible for perhaps some damage near Liberty. And we do have a crew on the way there to find out. They actually got sent in that direction, I think, before we even got word of that. So let me go ahead and check a couple other things. You got to just watch these little appendages on the line to make sure they're not doing anything. This one near Lake Winnebago isn't. That's purely straight line winds. I think we have to watch Blue Springs here, because what I'm seeing, you see the little nub on the leading end, and then you can correlate that with something that's trying to spin. So between Blue Springs and Grain Valley, just know I'm watching that. Something that could be trying to spin up there. Basically going to be paralleling 70 going into Oak Grove. Let's jump back to the north. It's flashing on your screen because this is a confirmed tornado warning for places like Atherton and Missouri City and Miltondale. But that was confirmed for something that was probably brief, and by the time that warning was mentioned, I think that tornado no longer was existing. And I don't know that we can confirm right now that that was a tornado in Liberty. The National Weather Service felt that they saw a debris signature. I went back and checked it, and it could have been. It was awfully close. It was a very close case. Let's see, what else do I have here? We have reports of a 63-mile-per-hour wind gust in Pleasant Valley and a 59-mile-per-hour wind gust 4 miles north of Liberty. And law enforcement reporting 70-mile-per-hour winds in Kearney. Okay, so at the very least, this is still a thunderstorm that's tossing out some strong winds, and that is why we came on the air in the first place. That destructive severe thunderstorm warning is no longer on your screen. That flashing pale box is gone. You see some new orange boxes drawn up to take care of this storm as it works to the east, which these are likely still in the order of 60 to 70-mile-per-hour winds, but hopefully we've put the 80-mile-per-hour winds behind us. We need to go back to Blue Springs, because this circulation near Grain Valley is suspicious. These are the appendages you don't want to see. Grain Valley, I would definitely be in that tornado-safe place right now. Fortunately, this is not the most obvious signature of a tornado here on radar. I would say it's spinning. I don't see that complete bow tie signature of those greens and reds really tying together. But I don't want to play that one with any kind of loose play at all. That one needs to be taken seriously. And again, if you're in that tornado warning in Jackson County, especially for Pink Hill and Grain Valley and Oak Grove, be in that shelter now, please. That's your basement or a storm shelter if you have one. If not, the lowest level of your home in an interior room. Other places of rotation to watch. This one's still near Lake City. I don't really see as much of an appendage with that. It doesn't stand out to me as much. I think this one near Atherton is trying to do what it did in Liberty earlier, which is really try to spin up. But I'm seeing a lot of green, though. A lot of green and not a lot of red, which indicates, at least on this end of the storm, hopefully for now, the straight line winds are winning the battle. That would still mean we could get straight line wind damage up here, but anything to diminish the tornado threat would be great with me. And it looks like we may be lessening the tornado threat for now on the north side. Or the northeast side. But again, all the same, Sibley and Oric, stay in that safe place for me, please. Missouri City, same goes for you. Liberty, stay there for just a sec. I think officially Liberty's done with the tornado threat, but you're still in that warning polygon, and there's still a very heavy thunderstorm over you. I can give the all clear to Birmingham, Clay Como, Independence, you're clear. Raytown, you're clear. Knobtown, and Lee's Summit. I think it's safe to say Lee's Summit, you're in the clear as far as the worst. But we still have plenty of other locations that need to stay where they're at. Let me look at what we've got here. All right, so ham radio reporting a rotating wall cloud in Blue Springs. That is almost certainly tied to this same signature that we were watching right here, which would be over Grain Valley. These are the little nubs that these are what you look for. Things along the leading edge of these bow echoes that can try to spin. We don't have the most formidable way for these storms to spin today. The ingredients aren't super high, but clearly this storm is trying to do something with it. So very much in your tornado safe place for Grain Valley and Oak Grove, and really anywhere along that I-70 corridor east of Blue Springs. If this persists enough, we may get a new tornado warning into parts of Lafayette County, which, let me cue that up. Reminder, Lafayette County, you're in a severe thunderstorm warning until 9:45. Let's go back up to the north. See if we have some attempts at rotation here on the north side. I do see some really strong winds, though. I mean, the greens are going to stand out for sure, especially near Missouri City. Looks like that might be your strongest pocket. But I do think if we have attempts at rotation right now, these, hang on. Okay, well now we got some greens and reds that are pretty much touching each other. They're not super bright. I don't see the bright reds and bright greens, but this is awfully close near Grain Valley. You still have that appendage. If there's a tornado here, it's on the east side of Grain Valley on the interstate, near where it meets Stillhouse Road. So on this trajectory, let me play it back for you. Let's just give it 15 minutes. I mean, I can pretty much tell you it's running due east, but just to make sure. Okay, we'll call it east-northeast. So we may need a tornado warning extension here for Lafayette in just a bit, but at the very least, the Oak Grove area, the Grain Valley area could be dealing with an ongoing tornado. I can't say for sure. Let's get some debris data in there. And I'd have to make sure that this isn't it. If that's something, if we can correlate that with velocity, that's probably tornado in progress. But okay, but it's not where the velocity signature is, so that's encouraging news, but it's still too close for comfort for me, so we do need to really keep an eye on that one. Let me read some things from the National Weather Service here. Pleasant Hill just got 60-mile-per-hour winds, and that indeed is, I think, the only new report I can pass along. That is very much of interest to me. Let's come back to that. We still have this tornado warning for the northeast side of the metro, and really getting out of the metro at this time, I guess if we're being really specific, because now we're talking about Oric and Sibley and Missouri City. Remember, anywhere along this line, this is already lit up with severe thunderstorm warnings. So we could be talking about 60 to 70 mile-per-hour winds along this line, which has kind of folded and fallen apart with a gap there near Paola, but it does pick up with some warnings out here in Kansas. Really quick, let me just remind our friends out here in Anderson County. Yeah, don't want to forget about you guys. Anderson County, severe thunderstorm warning until 9:45. Those are storms that have been making their way towards that area for some time, but we've got a blank spot in the storms right there. We've got a gap, and then working into the metro, the east side of the metro is this line of thunderstorms, what we call a bow echo. It has that bowed shape, which indicate that it's moving right along and has a lot of wind with it, able to push it and really crank out some strong, strong winds. So let's jump back to, yeah, I mean, I still think this could be a tornado here, or if not, one that's really, really trying to do so near Pink Hill, because we're starting to see these try to tie themselves together. I mentioned that image of a bow tie earlier, and that's kind of what we're seeing here with the reds and the greens. It's not the most standout. Again, I think in the past this year we've seen some tornado signatures that looked more impressive than that, but let's not dismiss it entirely, as it does appear that something's trying to rotate there near Pink Hill. Does that still have that appendage on the leading edge of the storm? Kinda. It's trying to branch out. There's one there and there's one there, but I think it's the northern end that has the spin to it. Yep, sure does. Okay, so that's the one I'd be paying attention to. We don't have a tornado warning yet for Lafayette County. We may get one. Let me see here. No, nothing. Okay, nothing yet. Nothing yet from the National Weather Service on what they want to do with that. And I know we've got some other warnings out there, but I really do need to diagnose this very quickly. What you're seeing there on the debris picture is really just, it's kind of just messy data. It's too noisy for me to conclusively say that there's something completely associated with the debris signature there, so I cannot at this time confirm that that's what it's trying to do. But it's certainly trying. I mean, at the very least, it is trying. That is a storm that's trying to spin along the leading edge near Pink Hill. To remind you, we've got 2 tornado warnings. This box is flashing because there was previously a confirmed, or at least confirmed by radar, a brief tornado near Liberty from the sounds of it. And there are still portions of that storm that may be trying to spin. But I think for the most part, this one is starting to work back to its more straight line wind potential and less of rotating. And then this second red box is a tornado warning for Jackson County, which is going to run for another 3 minutes. That's going to go until 9:15. As a reminder, this northern tornado warning is going until 9:30 for parts of Ray County. And as I double check some velocity pictures here, that is some really bright colors, some bright winds still about to move out of Missouri City, getting closer to Sibley, Oric, and Clevenger and Floyd. Don't really see anything rotating up there, though. This one really is one to watch. I think that's the same image I showed a few minutes ago. We need to see if we can get a new scan on that one soon. But a leading edge coming out of Jackson County, getting close to Bates City, is of interest to me in terms of the spinning part. Now, just in terms of raw velocity, looks like we don't have as bright greens along the leading edge out here, so the straight line winds may not be pushing 70 miles per hour anymore, hopefully just in the order of 60. But we will be right here with you to watch what happens with these 2 warnings. And again, I'd say within the 435 loop in Kansas City, you're good. So here's the highway loop. Let's say inside of that, you're fine, because notice that the back of the storms have now made it out of Liberty, almost out of Blue Springs, definitely out of Independence. So Independence, you're in the clear. And now we're just waiting to get these. There you go. New tornado warning, as I definitely feel that is what they should be doing right now. Tornado warning for Lafayette County until 9:45. And I think it's just strictly Lafayette County with this new one. Let me read the latest for you. There's a smidge of Jackson County involved in it. So this is according to the National Weather Service, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado near Levacy, moving east at 35 miles per hour. So it's slowing down just a little bit, which is also good news in terms of the straight line wind potential, because that may be that the winds exiting the storm are still not quite as potent, but now we're seeing a couple new areas of rotation. So I was watching this one earlier, and that indeed, Pink Hill or just due north of Oak Grove, one to watch. But now I'm seeing something new trying to spin right here. Let me orient the map. There we go. Here's Oak Grove, Bates City. It's weak, but this is a weak rotation signature there near White Road where it meets Milam Road. So for those of you familiar out there, there's Folks. We also have Broadway just to the west of this. So this could be, what I'm following could be a tornado here, or at least trying to do so. What you'll notice is there's your spin. I'm going to go ahead and circle that for you. And then chances are it's going to line up with something on the radar beam. So let's put that tool away. Let's go back to the radar site for Kansas City and get the reflectivity. Okay, so it doesn't really line up with either one of these 2 notches, which is, well, kind of an encouraging sign. I still don't like to see that velocity picture, but at least it doesn't fully orient itself with one of those little notches on the leading edge. I'm still seeing some really bright greens come up here. I think if we're talking straight line winds, the fastest of which are going to be involved in that tornado warning up here for northern Jackson County and then parts of Clay County. Yes, it's still a tornado warning, and those places that I mentioned from Liberty out to Oric would like you to be in that shelter. But I think predominantly this is really some straight line winds, some strong straight line winds coming through that area. And then as we work our way down here, got to watch little symbols like that. You got to watch the little curly cues on the leading edge like that. So what am I seeing here? Well, this was the one that I think was responsible for a wall cloud near Blue Springs. Hopefully that did not produce. And it looks like that one is decaying. This one just southeast of Oak Grove, I think, is the one I would watch the most. Just for kicks, let's check your debris product. I don't think, let's see. Yeah, I don't think we have anything there yet, but I do believe that is a storm that's trying to produce on us at this time. There's your new scan. I'm a little more encouraged by it. Looks like the greens and reds spread out. In fact, what you're seeing here, you see the fan of red that's actually increased in that last scan, so that's kind of now indicating a little bit more of a push of straight line winds. So I'm hoping that this is now becoming more dominant of just winds moving in one direction now, as opposed to trying to spin and wrap up. It's red winds because we just passed the radar site. So the winds were moving toward the radar site, Pleasant Hill here, it was in green. We just had that gust front basically move beyond that radar beam, so now everything exiting this area in terms of straight line winds is going to start to appear red, which is what you're seeing here. And then we just got to watch to see if anything like that comes together, but this at least encourages me a little bit that in the Bates City area that might be becoming more straight line wind dominant as opposed to trying to spin up something. Having said that, there is a new tornado warning for that part of the storm. Lafayette County until 9:45. It's not all of Lafayette County, and I apologize, I don't think I've given out some communities here for you. So the communities that are involved in this new tornado warning for Lafayette County would be Napoleon, Wellington, Greenton, Odessa as well, Lake Lafayette, and some other rural areas in between there. So those are basically all the major points to hit with this new tornado warning. Nothing confirmed out of this one. I do see some areas that really do want to spin with that particular thunderstorm. This tornado warning is, okay, so they've trimmed it up. The one that was up here on the north side, you still see the flashing box, but ignore that one, that's old. There's a new tornado warning drawn to replace it, and if you look carefully, you can see it. You see that red line right there? There's a new red box right here. So they're not going with a confirmed tornado warning anymore for Oric and Sibley. It's a good old, tornado warning, if you can call it that, but it still represents some danger. They're just saying this is radar indicated at this time, nothing confirmed, and I don't really think we've had anything confirmed since the Liberty area. But let me read you the latest on that. So they just trimmed that warning up for Central Clay, Southwestern Ray, and Northeastern Jackson counties, and they're saying it's moving southeast now at 35 miles per hour, but it's all radar indicated rotation at this time. Just had a report of 60-mile-per-hour winds in Oak Grove. I'm seeing reports, there's so many reports coming in of damage now. It just depends on where it is, but it looks like a lot of it is of your tree and power pole variety. So power poles down east, 3 miles east of Kansas City in Jackson County, Missouri. We have down tree limbs near 96th Street, north of Oakview. That's Clay County. We have shingles blown off of a residence near Oak Creek Court. That is in Platte County near Waldron. So all sorts of reports coming in of what sounds like wind-driven damage. Perhaps not tornadoes, but that just sounds to me like we've got a host of some straight-line wind-driven stuff out there. Let's get right back to our tornado warnings. I know we have some other ongoing severe thunderstorm warnings, which for now is this whole thing has now pushed east of the metro. So Kansas City Metro, you're good for tonight. There is no more stuff coming your way. You are good for tonight. What we're doing now is tracking stuff that's strictly east of the metro. It's in fact east of Blue Springs and Independence now, so even those locations can settle in safely for tonight. But let's go back into this Lafayette County storm. See if we can pick out some areas of rotation here. That one, Hicks City, that's actually not, that one's not of any concern. Greens and reds aren't oriented correctly for that one. We really are seeing just more bright green explode on the raw velocity map. So this one, I'm not looking for rotation here. I'm just looking for the strongest straight line winds. And there you go. Really a good signature of some strong winds coming into Oric and over top of Sibley and Buckner right now. And I can kind of just guess as to what those speeds are based on the radar data. Good news is these numbers aren't as outlandish as earlier. 57 to 61 mile per hour winds, those would still be roughly severe winds, but looks like we may not be talking 70 anymore. That is good news. I know there's still a tornado warning up here for the northern part of Jackson County and the southern sections of Ray County, but I'm increasingly looking like this is starting to take over as a straight line wind event up there. Let's go right back down to Lafayette County to see if we've got anything still trying to spin. There's still a small indication of something trying to spin here near Bates City, but it doesn't look like those two winds are trying to tie up very well. These are really dull greens. In other words, the inbound wind speed is not very fast at all, and the red isn't particularly anything to write home about either. It is on the leading edge of one of these little curly signatures, so we do still need to pay attention to it. I can give the all clear to Grain Valley and Pink Hill, communities that were under the gun a bit ago. Maybe got a little scary for a bit with those mentions of the wall clouds out there, but Grain Valley, Pink Hill, you're good. You're in the tornado warning technically right now, but the tornadic part of the storm has passed you. Same thing for Lake City and Blue Mills and Atherton. You all are good. But let's just bounce around with some velocity pictures for a bit. And really the only thing I'm seeing that strikes me as something trying to spin is this signature between Chapel Hill and Bates City at the moment. I think that one's still moving at 40 miles per hour, so let's put a new storm track on it. We've got some new locations that need to be given a heads up. So this is what I'm tracking here is not only the parts of the storm that could be trying to spin periodically, but also just some of those straight line winds that still could be 60 miles per hour coming into these locations. So Lake Lafayette at 9:26, and then Odessa at 9:27. After that, we have Robbins at 9:40, Simpson at 9:44, and then Higginsville, not in a warning yet, but arrival time going to be about 9:46, according to this. That's assuming about a 40 mile per hour wind speed, and I do believe it is still moving at 40 miles per hour. Let's go back and kind of let you know what's going on. And again, for some of our friends down here in the far southwestern areas that we serve, we've got some ongoing severe thunderstorm warnings for Anderson County, Kansas until 9:45. That's part of a cluster that really has just blown up over the past little while, but those storms are going to be an issue for south of us. And then we have our own cluster of those storms that kind of detached from the rest earlier and came straight for Kansas City. And now we've got really this whole line is draped with severe thunderstorm warnings, but we are definitely focusing more on the tornado warnings right now, and there are 2 of them. And we just need to watch what's going to be happening down here, closer to Lake Lafayette. And I say that because you still see these little signatures on the front. Those are your indicators that something along the leading edge is trying to be a little bit too adventurous and maybe trying to spin. And almost all of the time, if you see a tornado on the leading edge of a storm like this, it comes on something that looks like that. Not everything that looks like that is going to produce. I'm just saying that usually your leading edge tornadoes on a squall line like this take place on something that tries to curl up and give that little appendage look on the leading edge. So there's the first the tornado warning we've been talking about. The second one is still up here on the north side, which I think is going to expire very soon. Yeah, that one's going to expire in 6 minutes. And I don't think they're planning on reissuing a tornado warning for that one because, yeah, I mean, look at what we're dealing with. It's all straight line wind now up there. So from Orick down to Levacy and down to Napoleon and close to Bates City, we're seeing a lot of green and not a lot of red. So we have a lot of wind moving this way, still the straight line winds with the storm, but I don't really see any inflow into the storms annotated in red, trying to then venture into the storm and then get worked upright into a spinning updraft. So that could change within the next few scans, but at least for areas along and north of the Missouri River with that storm, it's looking to be like it's in better shape. We do still need to pay attention to what's happening in Lafayette County. Just as a reminder, we still have a severe thunderstorm warning for Cass County until 9:45, western parts of Johnson County until 9:45, and that's because the trailing edge of this storm could have some 60 mile per hour winds with it. There you go. You see the nice illustration there, easily picking out that gust front coming through with those red colors. Now, they're not bright red, so perhaps not the fastest of winds coming into those areas. I'm hoping it's less than 60, but we could have some 60 mile per hour winds in those spots. And then I do believe here in just 5 minutes, these red boxes on top are going to disappear. That tornado warning should be out of our picture. Now, the north side of that thunderstorm cluster, it's still producing some severe weather. There is still a severe thunderstorm warning in this orange box. You can see that right here. Ray County until 10 o'clock, and then Carroll County until 10 o'clock. You've got a tornado warning or severe thunderstorm warning for those areas. But I think really the way it's looking, anything that's going to try to be spinning would be on the leading edge of this guy, this storm right here. And certainly you see where the strongest straight line winds are probably still back here, crossing the county line from Jackson into Lafayette. I think that makes sense based on, yeah, I think the strongest winds are buried in this storm somewhere. And then on the leading edge, we're looking for some attempts at spinning. And again, there might be some near Lake Lafayette, but nothing like what we saw earlier. We really saw some, these storms really trying to spin up near the Northland not too long ago. Also, it really tried near Blue Springs. There may have been a touchdown in the Liberty area. That's not from spotters, but we actually, the National Weather Service saw some things on radar that felt that there was a confirmed tornado there, because there may have been lofted debris on the radar picture, and really only a tornado was going to do that. So that's something that's worth investigating. So the tornado warning up here that's flashing, and the one that's in effect for along and north of the Missouri River, that's effectively done. It is still on the board, but the National Weather Service says they're letting that go at 9:30. We're hearing reports from emergency management in Leavenworth County saying they're out looking for any further damage, but they've already discovered many trees down throughout the county, and the crews are working to get those out of the roadways. Numerous limbs of 3 to 8 inches down in the Kearney area, specifically the Meadowbrook and Stonecrest subdivisions. That's from law enforcement. And addition to that, we've just got a host of some reports coming in, but it's less in the way of measured wind reports and just more in the way of damage now. So if these tornado warnings are allowed to expire, I know this one's going to go till 9:45. If there are no further tornado warnings, we will get you back to your programming at 9:45. I imagine there's still going to be some severe thunderstorm warnings out there, but not the type where we need to remain on the air. But we've got some tornado warnings for the time being, so we will keep it right here. Strongest winds right now look to be right in this section. Previously, I think those strongest winds were up closer to Oric. And I think these storms have changed their tune a little bit and have now started to maybe offer up some stronger winds. Let me get that out of the screen. There you go. So the brightest greens have, actually I think the brightest greens have almost been diving southeast. Look at that. Yeah, how they kind of steered themselves away from Oric. And now the brighter colors, aka the strongest straight line winds, are now located down here on the county line of Jackson and Lafayette. So let's see, let's go ahead and get back to our current picture. I want to go ahead and hit that button. There we go. All right, so we effectively only have one tornado warning right now because these other ones on the top of your screen are canceled. The only one we're working with right now is in Lafayette County. It's this one right here that's going to go until 9:45, which means we can give the all clear to Oak Grove and Green Valley, Pink Hill and Hyler, all good. Nothing really to worry about there. Let's go back to the radar picture that you're used to seeing called reflectivity. Here you go. Here's where all the rain is. Not much in the way of hail tonight. That's good news. Didn't really hear much in the way of hail reports. We might have had a little bit here and there. We'll be able to tally that up a little bit later. But we're just going to watch this storm for the next 15 or so minutes, as long as that warning is out there, to make sure it's not spinning. I do see attempted spin again here. There you go, right there, just on the north side of Lake Lafayette. Yeah, that would be an attempt at spin for sure. Let's look at the past 15 minutes to see how that has taken shape. Yep, sure is. So that's a brand new development. We have something that's trying to rotate there on the north side of Lake Lafayette, just to the south of Odessa, or perhaps the south side of Odessa if we want to be particular. So it looks like something's trying to form on that leading appendage right there. Let's go ahead and really zoom in. So now I will say this may be, let me circle this for you, because here's what I'm seeing. Yes, we have a green and red signature right here that does look like they're trying to tie together. But let's go back to the radar picture, and I'm going to point out to you that that signature, it's not occurring underneath the storm. I mean, you're seeing some really light green here. That's not the base of the storm. The actual fundamental base of the storm is right here. So yes, we're seeing some reds and greens there. I'm not going to write it off completely. It could be rotating, and I don't want to just disregard it when we have a tornado warning. But what I'm led to believe here is that this is actually a symptom of straight line winds. Let me explain that. We've got, here's your push of straight line wind. This is your gust front. You've got winds working like this, and it's in red now because we're working away from the Pleasant Hill radar. And then, so we have wind going that way. So the fact that we have a green signature right here may just be antecedent. It may just be an artifact of the radar that, okay, sure, we have some slight inbound winds right there, but I think this is generally more outbound driven with some straight line winds in that neck of the woods. And one of the reasons I say that is because I'm looking to identify where the rotation is, and it's not underneath the updraft of the storm. So the two are not quite lining up. I will not completely disregard it. It could be a sign that that portion of the storm is trying to spin, but as of right now, I don't think that's imminently a tornado. Having said that, these are locations that are in a tornado warning, so still Greenton, Odessa, Lake Lafayette, I'd like you to be in that tornado safe place all the same. But and you can actually pick it out here on just the classic rain image too. Just watch how this whole section is bulging out. So I do think what's happening there is we have just a part of the storm that is attempting to push out some really strong winds again. I think it's this part of the storm right here is really trying to exercise some strong straight line wind like that. Now, we might still be able to get, as a response, a little circulation developing on the northern end of that, but we'll just have to wait and see. Back to the radar data we go for velocity. Yeah, I mean, it's trying. It's taking what these reds here, it's taking these straight line winds, it's really moving this way, and then something on the leading edge of that is trying to spin up, basically just like patterns in water would do. If you ever run your oar from a canoe or a kayak through the water, you go in a straight line, but then on either side of the oar, you're going to get those little swirls and the eddies. And that's precisely what could be happening here on the north side. It's the same feature that happens in the atmosphere. It's actually quite remarkable how often nature will imitate itself in the atmosphere sometimes. But it's the same principle that could be ongoing here. So still something to watch down there. I know we're officially in a tornado warning up here for Napoleon and Wellington, but it's essentially all straight line wind driven up there. So, I mean, that is good news. And then aside from that, we've got severe thunderstorm warnings that continue for Carroll County, and let's go right back down here because that same area has interest in the National Weather Service, and there is a new tornado warning for that. So we have a new tornado warning for the north part of Johnson County until 10 o'clock and the southern sections of Lafayette County until 10 o'clock. Look at where they've drawn it. The feature smack in the middle of that is what we were talking about here. And I do think this is really just trying to make a push at some straight line winds, but I see what they're doing. They're watching that north side and saying, hey, this little thing could try to spin up right there. So circulation with this particular storm is on the northeast side of Lake Lafayette. This one's a little bit easier to pick out. Earlier when we had these storms coming through the Northland, it was really hard to pick out one particular place that looked like it was spinning. This one's more clear cut. We have something spinning near Shaw School Road and in the vicinity of Mount Tabor Road. So that is where we have an attempt at rotation here. Okay, and I see what's happened now is that previously I was saying that little velocity signature wasn't really occurring where the bulk of the rain was. It wasn't really underneath the updraft. I think it's moving more in that way now. You can see it located right there, and then underneath that is now this whole host of rain that's working in. So a little bit of added confidence there may be something that's actually trying to spin there. So we have a new tornado warning that's going to extend all the way out to Concordia and Earnestville and Valley City. So with that in mind, let me get the latest from the National Weather Service here. And it is radar indicated at this time. They did not issue this because someone confirmed saw a tornado. It is radar indicated with this particular warning until 10 o'clock for a storm located near Odessa and moving east at 35 miles per hour. If we would be really particular, we could say east-southeast, but that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw an east-southeast trajectory at about 35 miles per hour for that particular storm, and let's just draw the whole thing, because there are places along here that may decide to spin over the next little while. So let me say 35, 36 miles per hour. So that is your times of arrival for this coming through. So there you go. Hoffman at 9:40 is when to expect this potent part of the storm. The thing is, all these times of arrival, this is also going to double as when you could see the gust front move through with those strong straight line winds. But at these same times, we could also see potentially a tornado try to pass through these areas. So Mount Olive at 9:46, Ernestville at 9:53, and then Concordia at 10:03. And after Concordia, there is no tornado warning yet. So places like Dunksburg, just keep an eye out. This storm is expected to get to you at 10:05, but no tornado warning for those areas just yet. So let's take that off the board. As a reminder, that is the only tornado warning we have. The one for Ray County is gone. The only reason you're seeing a red box here near Wellington is because that's the old tornado warning, but it's effectively been replaced. They've put out a new one. So Greenton, Bates City, Wellington, you're good. Of course, it's still very much storming where you are, but the tornado threat has passed you, and we're watching for a tornado threat with this particular part of the storm right here. And there are 2 places inside here that want to spin. We've got, let me make sure I'm lining this up right, because we're using a Pleasant Hill site. So here's one, and again, this is really, it's weak rotation, but if I were to pinpoint one, there's there, and then you're seeing a lapse in the data here. This donut hole is where actually some green colors should be. So there's 2 potential spots that could be spinning there. It's definitely weak, but we're going to keep an eye on it, and so that definitely means that anywhere out there from east of Lake Lafayette to Hoffman, and then Robbins and Aldeville out to Ernestville ought to be in that tornado safe place at this time. Let me go ahead and double check that with the radar view. The radar view that you're used to looking at home called reflectivity. We still have a little bit of that notch feature there, but more and more with time, it looks like this is just transitioning into a new bow echo, which is definitely supported from the velocity. You can see how this is just that wall of wind coming through. All the reds are starting to intensify there. And part of that is just because we're getting a little bit farther away from the Pleasant Hill radar site, but you have now a line of some straight line winds that really are starting to pick up, could be in the order of 60 miles per hour, coming into Robbins and Green Door and Centerview. Now, Green Door and Centerview are not in the tornado warning. It's the northern part of that bow echo that is of interest. Something up here might be trying to spin. Yep, we still have it. We still have 2 spots on that new scan that are trying to do something. This one, definitely, and then just the ever so slightest bit of green and red located within there. So this is on the county line, basically, of Lafayette and Johnson, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, Johnson. Just want to make sure I get that right. Here's Robbins for reference. Hoffman. And let's see here. If I were to really identify some roads for you, this is going to be Oakland School Road. That's a road that runs north-south. Athic Road is out there behind me. And then let's zoom in a little bit more. Other roads out here include Moss Road and Old Stage Road. So if these are places that are familiar to you, it's time to be in that tornado safe place. We've talked about it tonight, but again, if you've got that basement or a storm shelter, that's the place to be. But if those aren't available to you, it's time to be in the lowest level of your home on an interior room. It's likely going to be a closet or a bathroom at this time. And you can hang out in there with some blankets or pillows to keep yourself safe until this has passed. So I think we're getting situated back here behind the scenes. So we may be able to bring in meteorologist Wes Peary here very shortly. Just let me know when that mic is up and ready. But in the meantime, okay. And Wes is good. Wes, I'll turn it over to you in just a bit. I'm definitely hanging on to a lot of stuff out here. In fact, what you could definitely help me out with, can you kind of give us a rundown of what you're seeing in chat? Because it has been a wall of chat out there lately.
So what we're getting is a lot of reports of damage right now. A lot of reports of course, thunderstorm wind damage from all over the place. A lot of them, in fact, let me pull up some of these reports of damage, especially that went through Kansas City and the Liberty area as well. I know it was up, I think it was in Clay County or portions of Jackson County where we had that confirmed tornado that moved through there. A lot of wind damage reports again here up in Clay County, a few also here in Jackson County and Platte County, a couple in Wyandotte County, and a few also in Jackson County. But I mean, we're very early on in actually getting the reports in from this damage. But the more kind of infrastructure you have to hit, the more damage you'll get in general. So those will continue to kind of trickle in. I've just been kind of playing catch up with what's been going on with this tornado warning here that's going through Lafayette County and also portions of Johnson County. So I'll give you some ETAs here for this kind of double area of rotation that Caleb was just talking about. They originally put the tornado warning for the area of rotation over Odessa, and so now that's more so due east of Odessa and probably get closer to Earnestville. So that gets us into, actually, let's just say Fayetteville around 9:44, so a few minutes from now. Mount Olive around 9:50, Valley City around 10, Concordia around 10 o'clock, Emma around 10:10, Houstonia around 10:20, and then Hughesville as we go further down, generally the I-70 area, around 10:20 to 10:30. We're just going to watch this big push of wind as it just goes pretty much due east down I-70 at this point. And that's what it's been doing for about the last hour or two, I would say, is just bowing out as it's going directly down I-70 through Jackson County. We had that confirmed tornado, again, in parts of Clay County. That's no longer an issue. It's just this front end of the bowing segment right here that it's at least going to give you some 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts and two brief embedded tornado locations that we're keeping an eye on. If you're watching us from Kansas City, and I mean really anywhere in the Kansas City metro for that point, and off to the north and to the west, we are done with these severe threats. It is this big push of wind right here that's going directly down I-70. That is the biggest remaining threat for brief tornadoes and some 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts. So let's get in on that right now and see where some of the strongest wind gusts are trying to occur over this. And really, it's kind of just in front of Odessa, near Robbins and near Hoffman. Looking at this area of brighter red right over Robbins, that's a pretty good indication of at least wind coming into the storm, or rather the wind getting pushed out of the storm. So Hoffman, Robbins, Fayetteville, Mount Olive, Earnestville, Oldville, everybody there, kind of the ones that are mainly in line to maybe see a brief tornado and a brief spin up. I think Lake Lafayette, you're still going to get some really strong winds. You can kind of make out here as we go from the greens to the yellows and drastically over to the reds. This is wind on the backside pushing this line of the storm forward. And so you're getting a rear inflow push of the wind there. And then that is just propelling this entire line generally down I-70. So Chapel Hill, Bates City, Odessa, and the tornadic threat is no longer there. But you still need to stay indoors and stay in a safe place strictly because of the strength of the wind that's coming with this. I want to pinpoint a couple areas of rotation with this, and it looks like we're still generally near I-70, so we're on the south side of I-70, north of Fayetteville. And we'll turn on our different velocity signature here near Idesity in Fayetteville. We're probably going to have to put this right here, pardon me, right near Robbins. That is where probably the most suspect part of the tornado, at least the developing tornado is, and maybe even a little bit further north than that, rather, still generally along I-70. When you have these types of tornadoes, it's tough to really, put one triangular polygon, because it's a whole area that's trying to spin up some sort of brief tornado or at least 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts. We'll go at 40 miles per hour off to the east with this and just call out some more communities. And again, you may not initially be in this tornado warning as I start to call out some of these locations that are in Saline and Pettis County, but in the very least, just prepare those really strong wind gusts. So let's just get this all the way through our area, through the I-70 corridor, and I'll adjust some of these cities to kind of pan things out here a little bit. Let's go to 50 miles. That's going to be a little bit too short. All right, let's go 50 miles, and we'll get as many cities, small places in this as possible at first. We'll get Mount Olive around a couple minutes from now, Valley City around 9:55, Concordia 9:55, Elmwood around 10, Houstonia around 10:15, and Herndon around 10:15 to 10:20. We'll compact this a little bit to some of the more prominent cities, and we'll go with Concordia 9:55, Sweet Springs around 10:10, Nelson 10:38, and Houstonia around 10:15 as well. I mean, there are just generally a lot of smaller communities that are near I-70, people probably getting off the road to take cover from this impending line of thunderstorms. You can probably see this line of thunderstorms. I mean, it's very obvious that there's a shelf cloud coming into town as this line of storms is coming through. So everybody generally near I-70, prepare to bear down to some 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts. And again, a brief tornado. A little bit of a good sign here is that we're losing the definition of the front end of this squall line. Let's take a quick little peek of that. You notice how we have a pretty, we'll stop the loop real quick. So how we have a pretty, let me back it up. So it's a pretty definitive shape here. Right? Look on the side of my screen where it's a very stark contrast between reds, greens, and then absolutely nothing. We'll get to the current position of the storm and see how it's fanning out a little bit more. So the wind pushing this storm from behind is actually starting to just overall outdo the inflow of the storm, which means we're seeing a slight decrease in the tornadic threat of this kind of push of the wind. It doesn't mean Concordia can't experience some 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts, but the way things are looking right now, it's a slightly decreased threat from a brief spin up tornado just because of that signature of more so fanning now. I want to give a outline of what's going on here as we're in the core of I-70. We're watching this core of a push of thunderstorms move through. Everybody else, Kansas City, north and west, I don't see any more tornadic threat. There is a severe thunderstorm warning down here. That's in portions of Anderson County, or pardon me, I think it's Lynn and Anderson County, I believe, are in both of these. Yeah, Lynn and Anderson County. Okay, good. I just got confirmation from the National Weather Service that it's not looking good. That is a safety perspective. It's looking less tornadic there for the storm that I was just talking about. But Lynn and Anderson counties, it's just for some 45 mile per hour wind gusts, or pardon me, some quarter-size hail and some 60 mile per hour wind gusts with that. So not concerned about anything tornadic going on with that. Caleb has been running a marathon doing tornado coverage. So I want on just everything that's been going on. But Caleb, you're fully caught up, I think, to everything. This jagged look is what they're calling it, is a very good sign for a decreased tornado potential.
Thank you for picking up some of that. Meteorologist Wes Peary here in the building, and I fully agree, Wes. When you start to see a less defined front edge of the thunderstorm, it means it's not fully involved in sharply taking in that warm air up front and then sharply putting it down as some cold straight line winds in front of it. Where, like Wes pointed out, we had the very sharp, easily defined gradient on the front of this bow echo when it was closer to Kansas City. And nature of that was we had some 70 to 80 mile per hour winds and probably some circulations. And now it's starting to look more ragged. We have rain that's kind of blossoming out in front of it, which tells us as meteorologists that it's just not really succeeding as well in trying to maintain its form. And as long as that happens, we will likely see, at the very least, the tornado potential waned. I know the National Weather Service just chimed in chat and said the same thing. As long as it's doing that, it's less able to produce a tornado. We may still be able to get some strong straight line winds out of a signature like that, but even that part looks to be hopefully on the way down. I won't say it's completely shutting off right now. We still have a little ways to go. But we do like to see ragged edges on the front of bow echoes. That generally means something that's trying to subside there. Let's tackle where we have severe thunderstorm warnings at the moment. So we still have some in effect for Carroll County until 10 o'clock. And then basically all of Lafayette County until 10:30. And then also on the south side, basically all of Johnson County until 10:30. But the tornadic portion is this right here where you see the curly Q, that same kind of signature that we've been looking for tonight. And again, had this been in better definition, I think this curly Q would be a little more problematic. But as of right now, I think we're just seeing a symptom of straight line winds. In this case, it's red because it's now moving away from Pleasant Hill. So we have red winds moving this way, and that's going to represent your gust front. So things are going to pick up in some winds here very soon as we get into Concordia and Ernestville and Valley City. But just from a standpoint from right here, I would look at this and say, okay, this might be something where it's trying to spin. We go over and look at velocity, and it's just really, really weak ability to spin right now. I mean, there's a little bit that's trying to rotate over Hoffman. We still want you to respect the tornado warning out there. I would like you to be in that safe place if you're in this red box, but if we can offer some encouragement right now, it's that this is looking less likely with time to produce a tornado.
Hey, Caleb,
Yes.
So we are out surveying the damage right now. Braden Bates is out surveying the damage. I'm going to toss to Sarah in just a second, but I just want to check in on the power outages. Jackson and Clay County reporting 25,000 customers without power in each county. Platte County, I think, is about the same. Let me query that real quick. Yeah, 10 to 25,000 customers without power. So, I mean, we're looking at least 30,000 customers without power here in the core of the Kansas City Metro. Sarah is part of our team working to gather information. Sarah, what do you have?
Well, I know that we have Braden Bates out in Storm Tracker. I know that he went up north. If we could go out to him, is that possible? I think, okay, so I see a downed tree there. Braden, are you able to talk to us and tell us anything about what you're seeing?
Yeah, so we just got here. We are by Bennett Park in Liberty. This is our first sign of damage. You can't really see it from this angle, but just on the other side of this car is another car that is underneath this massive tree. It is quite a large tree that has fallen here, and we heard that there is a second tree on the other side of this towards Bennett Park that has fallen over. This is like our first sign of large damage here in Liberty. We saw a few branches down. There's no power in this neighborhood at the moment. We heard that this is kind of in the downtown Liberty area. That's where we're seeing those power outages. We did see several flashing lights from police cars. We're not sure if that's related to this, but this is the big damage that we are seeing right now. We do know one car is damaged underneath, but we have not heard of any injuries from people. We did just speak to a few neighbors who said they were just exploring the neighborhood, kind of getting out here, seeing what was happening. But right now, this is the big damage that we are seeing. We're about to get out, and we can show you more in a few minutes. Sarah?
Braden, how was your drive up there? I know you were leaving from we're in the plaza area. It took you a little bit to get up there. How was your drive?
Yeah, so it was on and off rain. We had some heavy rains coming at some points. Really, the lightning was the biggest thing that we were seeing. The rains had kind of passed by the time that we had gotten out here, but definitely we saw that pooling on the roads. We had a couple of instances, especially when we were riding on the right side of the road, where that pooling was going underneath our tires. So if anyone was driving or gets out tonight, just be mindful of some of those drains that are not collecting that water fast enough.
Okay, Braden, thank you so much. We'll check back in with you in just a second. We want to get back out to Caleb and Wes.
I just want to look at some of these storm reports that we're getting. Braden was up in the Liberty area, down tree limbs at 103rd. I think at KCI we had a wind gust. Was it either 75 or 79?
79 officially.
Yeah, 79 miles per hour. I couldn't tell if that was one or two wind gusts that we had at that. But I mean, obviously, where we had the confirmed tornado, that was near Missouri City. I can get Missouri City, come on. So that's where at least we had the confirmed tornado. And I mean, I came in from Liberty, and so it was bad wind coming in. I mean, I'm not surprised we don't have, or I'm surprised at this point we don't have even more damage and wind gust reports in. But I mean, they're just going to come in from all over the place, from Liberty, from portions of Ray County, and from Jackson County as well. Let's see, this wind gust, 76 miles per hour. That was just outside of Liberty. And so that makes a lot of sense there. Again, KCI, let's see if we can get this one to come up. That was 79 miles per hour. That happened at 8:30, so a little more, about an hour and a half ago. Downtown, obviously a lot of sensitive infrastructure with what's going on with the World Cup. Just for the most part, downed power lines and trees reported from that. And not too far from us here on the plaza, 62 mile per hour wind gusts at a weather sensor there. That was in Westwood. That was actually, that's pretty much, yeah, it's like Westwood, the Mission Hills area just off the plaza, and a 60 mile per hour wind gust in Mission Hills there. So there's just been a lot of strong wind gusts, even if, you didn't get impacted by a tornado. 60 to 70, 60 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts occurred through a good portion of the Kansas City Metro. Looks like we got a severe thunderstorm warning in effect that just came in. Carroll, this is now into Sheridan, Lafayette, Pettis, and Saline counties. Looks like, Caleb, they're just kind of configuring that bow with more severe thunderstorm warnings rather than tornado warnings as that thing goes into central Missouri.
You're right, yeah. We're still getting warnings on this line of storms as it moves out, but fortunately, like you said, these are just severe thunderstorm warnings. And I can also tell you from reading the fine text on these, they've now dropped these to 60-mile-per-hour winds possible with this. We're no longer talking 70. We're certainly not talking 80. This is warned for 60-mile-per-hour winds here as we talk about Saline County and then also for Pettis County until 11 o'clock. So those are your brand new warnings just to encompass, you know, we got to put out some warnings, or the National Weather Service does, for these storms as they move that way. But we're not talking about the degree of, intensity that these storms had not too long ago. And this tornado warning is going to expire at 10 o'clock. And I think they have every reason to let it go because I'm looking at this and it's completely outflow driven now. The only thing working through this red box are red winds. So in other words, winds working from west to east. I mean, maybe you could argue just a touch of rotation near Earnestville, but that's really not even on the curled part of this storm. I think if we were looking for a rotating signature, it'd be right in here. And then you check the velocity picture and it's full-on straight line winds. So that's your brightest picture in terms of winds. So the strongest winds approaching 60 miles per hour could be working through Valley City right now, headed out to Dunksburg and Stokely. But I think, and let me just double check, but I think they're gonna make, let's see, they say they were gonna cancel it at 9:52. I think they said it's, yeah, canceled. So love to see that. And producers, if you want to get in my ear, we have every reason to go back to the news at 10 o'clock, considering that'll be the last tornado warning on the board. It'll be done in 3 minutes. So just let me know what you want to do, and we can move along from there. But we can hopefully move into your news at 10 o'clock here on a Saturday and proceed from there. But you're seeing a small red box on your screen there northeast of Warrensburg for a tornado warning that is expected to expire in 2 minutes. And just in addition to that, let's run down here for our friends in Kansas. We've got to let them know what's going on. We have the other side of these storms that kind of broke off from the main one earlier this evening. And these continue to be some severe thunderstorms, packing perhaps some 60-plus mile-per-hour winds. But this is largely removed from our viewing area at this point. I think the only location that's really affected that we serve is Lynn County with a severe thunderstorm warning until 10:15. It's for that storm right in there. And we can check, let's go ahead and check Topeka data since I think that's closer. From that angle, it's hard to tell. I'm sure somewhere in there we've got some 60-mile-per-hour winds, but it looks like in essence this may be shooting south of Bates County before too long, and that'll be out of our hair. And then hopefully by 11 p.m., this is also out of our hair, out of the Marshall and Sedalia area, and we can call it quits completely for tonight. Kansas City, you can call it quits already with the weather. It's done. It's over. Your night is fine. But in terms of our viewing area, of course, we've got some folks out there that we have to serve as well because they're our friends too. And so out here for Pettis and Saline County, want to make sure that we're watching them as we get through the 10:30 and 11 o'clock hour. So again, if there's anything I need to know, just let me know from the guys back there. Jonathan, if you can. We can run for another 30 seconds here and we can go to the news after that. So here's the wider view. And let me just show you what we've got here. So decaying line of thunderstorms, still severe as it works towards its eastern parts of the viewing area. Looks like the tornado potential is diminishing of time. Here at the top of the hour, that tornado warning will expire. We also have some additional thunderstorms down here to the south that should work further to the south as the evening goes on. So here in just a moment, we can turn it over to your news at 10 o'clock.